Hey guys, this is Wolf of Dimensions coming at you with a new segment called What If? Now, some of these I may have already been explained or talked about, but I have my own little differences or opinions. Today we start off with, what if Qui-Gon Jinn had never actually been killed? Now, this goes into the fact that you have to put out the styles of his lightsaber fighting with Mauls and the situation he was in, which all factored into why he lost, as well as his age. He had a rather strong connection to the Force, which is probably a good reason to assume why he could easily have defeated him if he had the upper hand. Now, let's get on past that. What we need to talk about here is the situations. Obi-Wan was to be Jedi Knight so that Qui-Gon could train Anakin. Now, with this different training, this puts a lot of things in motion that are almost dangerous. For instance, Obi-Wan's training of Anakin was more of the Jedi style than what Qui-Gon would have. With Qui-Gon, there would have been more, seeds of the dark side planted in him. There would have been more rebellious stages, and with Anakin's nature, it would have been worse. And Obi-Wan, it's important to think that the only reason Obi-Wan was able to really beat Anakin on Mustafar was because of the defensive style he took up after Qui-Gon's death. So if they ever fought, there'd be an obvious victor of Darth Vader. Now, I'm not going to say that Darth Vader's outcome would be inevitable in this scenario, but it would still be likely. There's not that much change. So, let's say they figure out about Palpatine beforehand, or when they find out Anakin doesn't change. Well, then, of course, the Republic goes on into its own great union still, fine, intact, with Qui-Gon alive. But then there's also the chance that he might go to the dark side. And if he went to the dark side, there would be a good chance that he would have defeated Qui-Gon rather easily because of his age, and then Obi-Wan for the lack of training. And with this in full, Darth Vader would eventually, as his new powers, he would have the powers that he originally had, not being cut down by being Darth Vader, which only made his Force abilities 8/10 of Palpatine's when originally they were much higher. Which means that eventually, as the Sith rule of two, he would overthrow him and become the best, and eventually take over. Now, this is a scenario, this is like one out of a million possible scenarios in this event, but what I truly believe would happen is that Anakin would probably get close to turning to the dark side, if not turn. And I think Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon would work together to defeat him. And as a team, like they did before, they would overwhelm him, because even though he is a strong Force fighter, they were both strong Force fighters as well, and working together, I believe that they could have defeated him. It's like how Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon could have easily defeated Darth Maul if they kept working together. Eventually they would have powered him down, but Qui-Gon ran ahead, and Obi-Wan just wasn't fast enough. So this scenario works on the hope that eventually, even if Anakin dies, the Emperor is still able to be defeated. Now, I don't think Palpatine would be defeated in this scenario. I feel like he'd maybe slink back off into the shadows, and he'd have the clones continue doing their work, or people doing their work, and all the while the Jedi fight in the Resistance style motive, he searched for a new apprentice. And this new apprentice would be the person that led the new Empire into the next age, although at a later time. And there would also be the fact that Luke and Leia would still be alive. Now, of course, that means that Obi-Wan would probably have trained them, and that they would both be extremely powerful Force users, because there was no fear of Anakin ever finding out, because he was dead. Qui-Gon would also be there to help too for a big part of his life until he finally died of old age. So with this scenario playing out, Luke and Leia would end up fighting whoever the Emperor chooses his new apprentice, and eventually beat him because of their connection to the Force like their fathers. Well, that's my theory for this. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.